All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dids in the Dugout. In this week's episode, we are going to talk about the Austin Peay game on Tuesday night, which is a pretty big game for the Rebels there. That was a nice win. Austin Peay's not a bad team, which we'll dive into here in just a little bit. Look at Kentucky with the series with the Wildcats at Swayze Field coming up this weekend. Another nationally ranked team coming into Oxford. Another good opportunity for a good RPI win, which we'll dive into all that. And then we'll get to y'all's questions. We asked for some questions just this afternoon before we started recording. Got several really good ones in, so appreciate y'all reaching out and getting y'all's questions in. We're going to hit every single one of those as well, so y'all hang around for that after we get done talking about Kentucky. Before we get into all that, though, every single week, like I tell you, we're brought to y'all by Rhythm, the absolute best sports handicapping app out there. You can get on there, build your own models with different stats and stuff like that, depending on what sport you're wanting to gamble on, or you can have their AI build you models to gamble with as well. They've got golf coming up. They had this thing with the NCAA tournament. You can use the models that you had built to predict the tournament, the entire bracket all the way through. I did a couple of those myself. They're really, really good, especially with upsets. They were really good picking dogs in the first round, but not only were they good at picking dogs in the first round, they were also good at getting the favorites to beat them in the next round as well. So it's not like it's a lucky thing that when you have as much data as Rhythm does and you apply it to gambling, then it really does make all the difference.
Sure.
So yeah, so y'all go out there, download the Rhythm app, sign up, get 7 days free. It's a 7-day free trial. So build your own models, have them build models for you, and start making a little bit of money. College football is going to be here before we know it. So is the NFL, and we still got a little bit of college basketball left. And then we've got golf coming up soon. They have their new golf model dropping here soon as well. So y'all keep an eye out for that. So y'all go to the App Store, Google Play, and download the Rhythm app, RITHMM, and start winning some money ahead of football season. And just like each and every week, can't say the same for Chad. I'm joined here by my buddy Hitch. Hitch, how you doing, bud?
Yeah, I'm good. You know, we got that news about Chad right before the show. You know, it really blew my mind. You know, maybe he'll be here next week. He can tell us all about it. But it was crazy.
I know. So hopefully we'll get Chad on here next week before we head into a big series next weekend, head into Fayetteville to face the number one team in the country, the Arkansas Razorbacks. But first things first, Rebels have business to take care of at home this weekend. But before we get into baseball, we want to give a quick shout out. We've tried to do our best to keep y'all up to date on the women's basketball team. Their season did come to an end, losing to Notre Dame in the round of 32. And just a really good season by Coach O. Faced a lot of adversity, lost point guard at the beginning of the year. And, you know, it's obvious that Coach O has this program headed into the right direction. You know, had the most SEC wins since I don't even know when, if I'm being totally honest. But finished third overall in the SEC. Had a really good year. Won a game in the tournament. So really excited to see what Coach O and these Lady Rebs will be able to do next year, Hitch.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, you know, I think what you got to remember too about the women's tournament is Ole Miss was playing in front of a hostile Notre Dame crowd, right? Where Notre Dame was the host there. That's always, you know, tough going to play at the home team's court in the tournament. But yeah, you know my feelings on women's basketball and Coach O. I over the past couple of years have more and more become a fan, try to get to more and more games and keep up with it more and more. And I'm enjoying it. I actually found myself the other night watching a women's basketball game that wasn't Ole Miss. It wasn't the Rebels. It happened to be, you know, Iowa and Caitlin Clark. But you know, I sat there and enjoyed watching it. You know, didn't ever once pick up the remote and say, man, I wish that I was watching something else. So yeah, I'm proud to be a fan of Coach Yo and the Lady Rebels.
Yeah. So good luck to them in the offseason. I know Coach O's going to go out and add some pieces to this roster. Got several coming back next year, so it should be another really good Lady Rebel team playing in the pavilion. So excited to get that going again and seeing what Coach O and those ladies can do for us. So congratulations on a great season. Y'all were a lot of fun to watch and really excited for next year. But we'll go ahead and dive into baseball now. Ole Miss ended up getting a good win Tuesday night against Austin Peay at Swayze Field. Austin Peay, just when you hear them in general, the Austin Peay Governors, you don't think of them being a really good team. But, man, they're a team that hits the fire out of the ball, and it wasn't just Tuesday night. They've done it all year long. They were coming into Tuesday night 6th in the country in batting average, 8th in home runs, 3-2 overall against the SEC before Tuesday night. They just now dropped to 500. So they're obviously way better than Missouri is. So, it was a really gutsy performance by mainly our bullpen. Obviously, that's something we've harped on for months and months and months. Carmack got his first start. A little bit disappointing. I liked what Carmack had done coming out of the pen. And Hitch, you can chime in here on this. I think what got Carmack last night, he was really effective coming out of the bullpen. In a relief role, he was able to keep the fastball down and be able to play the changeup off that fastball when he was able to keep it low in the zone. Tuesday night, the fastball got elevated, threw more sliders than I expected. Felt like I didn't see a whole lot of changeups out of him. And I think a lot of that was the fact that he didn't have a lot of success with this fastball because he couldn't keep it down. What do you think?
Sure. Well, I mean, that's what it is. I'm not going to tell the story, but me and my 12-year-old daughter never played baseball in her life, got into an argument about what a changeup was the other day. But that's exactly what it does is it changes the speed of the pitch, right? And if your fastball is not locating, then you're not worried about the speed of the pitch, right? It's all about that. If you're throwing a strike, I know what it is because you can't locate your fastball. I felt that I didn't see a lot of that, great changeup that he's got. It was a bit of a shock when I walked in from the house at like 6. It was like 10 minutes after 6, and it was 4-0. And I thought, oh man, I got the time wrong. This game, this started way earlier, and I looked, and it was the top of the first, 22 pitches. I thought, oh my God, something wild has happened, but.
And it did.
And when we came out in the bottom of the first and, put up some runs, and I was like, oh, this is fixing to be a long game. And like you said, the bullpen, outlasted the Austin Peay bullpen, and the offense did what it does. And it's a really good win. They're a very good offensive team.
They are. Yeah. So it was definitely a good win. Which Mitch Murrill ends up coming away with the win. He comes in after Carmack there for the second inning after Carmack gave up that fifth run. It was the fourth earned run, his fifth run total of the game. But Morrell came in. Morrell actually gave up the run. I guess I should clarify that. But it was tacked on to Kyler Carmack's line there. But Mitch Morrell pitched really well. 2 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. And then our guy Austin Simmons, the young lefty, comes in. Man, I felt like he really got screwed. He was way more dominant than even his line suggests. 1 inning, no hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. You see that and you think, oh, well, he had, electric stuff. Well, he really did. But he come out for the second inning after he struck out the side in the first inning he pitched in, got into an 0-2 count, and had the guy struck out. Umpire missed the call, called it a ball, had it right down the middle there. And then the 1-2 pitch, he ends up bouncing and hits the guy.
Yeah, it was
which is something you don't see very often. Yeah, you don't see that very often.
Maybe he held on to it too tight. Something with the grip. Maybe
too long is what it was.
It a funky looking pitch.
And then the very next guy after that, he had him 2-2, and he throws a really good curve ball. Starts up in the zone. He thinks it's too high. He doesn't swing. Drops back down belt high. Perfect pitch. Totally fooled the hitter. Fooled the umpire too, unfortunately, because it was a strike. Ends up walking that guy, and then they end up pulling him after that. And this is where things got good for me. Our man Sam Takuyan came in. If you listened to last week's show, he was the guy that I pointed out that we've got to start getting more innings. He has been absolutely electric every time he's come into the game, and last night was no different. Hell, last night he might have been the best he's ever been, even though it was the first time he had even given up a hit all year. 2 innings, 1 hit, no walks, 2 strikeouts. Sam is a guy that can really be a big piece of this bullpen, just like we talked about last week. And he showed you why. His fastball, it's going to read 91, 92, maybe even touch 93, something like that. But when you hear it hit the glove, you hear something different. It's really heavy. It has that pop to it. And you can tell it really gets on hitters fast.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I've heard hitters describe that as like, it feels like you're hitting a brick, if you do hit it on the sweet part of the bat. And as a former catcher, I can tell you it absolutely feels like catching a brick all night long when somebody has that heavy fastball. But I mean, what I love about his line is just his efficiency, right? Two innings, 22 pitches. That's,
give me that all day.
I love to see that. It's great. But, yeah, I'd love to see, Sam more and more.
Yeah, me too. And we're going to get more into Sam Takuyan a little bit later in the show, so y'all stick around for that. But just kind of going through the rest of the pitching stats here. Mason Morris comes in, and he eats up 2 innings. Mason's been a guy that we've talked about a few times on the show, and he just keeps impressing. 2 innings, no hits, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Comes in and does his job. 24 pitches and 2 innings. This is what you can do in the midweek with this bullpen, because you look up and down it and you've got, maybe Mitch Morrell and Braden Jones, who I'll get to here in just a second. Those might be the only 2 guys that pitch that you would say have a weekend role so far this year. Now, I think some of these guys are going to work their way into a more prominent weekend role. Mason Morris has pitched on the weekend a few times for us this year, and he's pitched really well then too. So, but this is what this pitching staff can do. If you don't have a great starter in the midweek, since we have pulled Riley Maddox down to start Friday nights for us now, we can piece something together, because you got Mitch Morrell going 2 innings, Sam Takuyan going 2 innings, Mason Morris going 2 innings. Quite frankly, Austin Simmons should have got through 2 innings if the umpire didn't miss those 2 strikeouts, because if he calls those 2 strikes there and he strikes the first 2 batters out of that inning, he's going to be out there for the next guy, and his stuff was working. And then you're probably even looking at Mason Morris even finishing this thing out, not even having to use Braden Jones and Ryan Rodriguez at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. And, I mean, Braden Jones, that's the one hiccup on the bullpen last night. And it's as odd as anybody else having a rough night.
Because he's been guys, so good for us this year.
Yeah, and, I mean, he had I don't even know that it was a bad pitch necessarily. A guy just,
I don't think so.
I think he went up there expecting chest-high fastball, and he ran into it, and hit a 3-run bomb, and that was the really big one.
Yeah. Well, look, when you're in the 9th inning, you're up by 8 runs. He brings in Braden Jones. Mike Bianco tells him, no matter what you do, you're going to throw strikes. Fill up the strike zone, get it over the plate, and let's get out of here. And that's what Braden went out there and did, and he left one over the plate like he was supposed to do. And, again, a team like Austin Peay, that's what they're going to do. If you leave it up for them, they're going to crush it. Don't hold that against Braden Jones even one little bit. He's been really, really good for Ole Miss this year. So one small hiccup for him. Ryan Rodriguez
Ryan Rodriguez comes in, just slams the door there with those last 2 batters.
That's one guy that I've been really impressed with the last couple of weeks. I kind of felt last week that he was carving out a lefty specialist role, because you've seen him come in twice for just 1 batter, and it was a lefty. But you saw Mike go to him here with the confidence to slam the door, get the last 2 outs. That's exactly what he did. 2/3 of an innings, no hits, no walks, 1 strikeout, and got the Rebels out of there with a a 4-run win on a Tuesday night against a good Austin Peay team. We will hit some of the hitters here just a little bit real quick. Ethan Leger hit an absolute nuke there in the, 7th or 8th inning. Our guy Luke Hill, which we're going to also get into him a little bit later on as well, he hit leadoff for us. And I really like him hitting there. And he had a hell of a night, 2 for 3 with a triple, 2 runs, an RBI, and a walk. And the one time he got out, he absolutely smoked it to him. I mean, this is a guy hitting it as hard as anybody on the roster, not named maybe Andrew Fisher.
Yeah, I mean, every ball he hit last night was on the nose. And yeah, we'll get into lineups and things a little bit later.
Yeah, so, but Andrew Fisher had another good night, 2 for 4, 2 RBIs and a run. Jackson Ross, great piece of hitting there, Hitch. Me and you talked about it while it was going on. 2 strike count. I think it was 1-2, 2-2, something like that. And they threw him a breaking ball, and he just gets the bat head out in front of it, pulls it into the hole between the the shortstop and the third baseman there to drive in a run. And that's when the game was still close too. So that was a real good at bat by Jackson. It was a professional at bat. Really
he's
good
so
to see.
good. He's so good at when I was in high school, our coach, he said, letting your hands lead your hips. Right. And so that helps you if you get fooled on that breaking ball, right? You still have all of that coil that you've built up, and you can still unwind and hit it with authority, right? If you go the other way and you lead with your hips and let your hands follow, you don't have anything behind that swing. And Jackson Ross is that at bat, right? His hands were out, right? But he stayed back and was able to drive through that 5-hole. And like you said, it was really good at bat.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then Ethan Groff, 1 for 4. Furness, it's an absolute shame that he ended the game with no hits because he smoked 2 balls. Yeah. The first one was a line drive to the opposite field right at the left fielder that would have scored a couple of runs, but he absolutely smoked that ball and hit another one really hard. But he did walk, come around to score from second base on a base hit from one of the favorite guys on the show, man, Trayson Hughes. The dude just keeps hitting 3 for 4, 3 RBIs, 1 run, made 2 really good defensive plays. I don't know if you know, sir, or not, but there was one we had a runner at they had a runner at second base, and they hit a deep ball to Trayson, and he catches it damn near at the warning track, and he unleashes a Bo Jackson-like throw all the way to third base. Good idea by that guy not trying to tag up on Trayson. I think the scout report's starting to get out on our guy a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean he may have saved the game in the very first inning.
That running catch.
I said, it was 4-0, 22 pitches in, and it was almost 6-0 at least, 23 pitches in. And he made a heck of a play. And it was such a good play that the guy on first and second, I don't think they were able to tag up because they had to come back. No. They didn't think he was going to get to the ball. And so, it was a heck of a play by him. But, he just keeps it. But Furness is another guy, right, that when you look at Luke Hill and how he was just kept putting the ball in play, kept hitting it in the face, just kept barreling the ball. And Furness is doing the same thing. It seems like every ball he hits is barreled. And so keep doing it, and it will find help. Look at these other guys in the lineup, like Trayson.
Another one.
Who, just kept hitting it and kept at it, and they will find those holes. Yep.
Yeah. And Andrew Fisher is another one early in the season you can throw into that category as well. He really struggled there the first week, 2 weeks, something like that, hitting the ball. But everything he hit was right on the nose. He's such a good hitter, a very patient hitter, knows what he's going up there looking to do, and he always executes it. And now you see the results from that over the last month or so. Been really good. I really liked what I saw out of Braden Randall. I thought he made another really good play at second base there. I'm thinking it was 4th or 5th inning, something like that. They had a couple runners on, and they were in the shift. And he fields a ground ball going to his right towards second base, deep into the hole, into the outfield grass there, and makes the long throw to first. That's just the kind of play that not a lot of true freshmen are going to make in this league. His defensive abilities alone, plus his approach at the plate as well, has been superb. And I think that's why we're starting to see him more and more at second base. He goes 0 for 2, but ends up getting a walk and a run scored. What I love about him is his swing. It's so short, so compact, straight to the baseball. You don't get a lot of wasted motion out of him.
No, and the thing about the play he made last night that's kind of impressive is that he didn't rush. He stayed calm, and it was a very close play at first. It was bang bang, but when he fielded the ball, he gathered himself, he made a good throw. Right, he didn't hurry because it was going to be a close play and potentially throw that ball away, and that's what you like to see out of a freshman. That shows some of that maturity like that. It's nice to see.
Yeah, it is. So, but that'll wrap up the Austin P talk there. Like I said, the Rebels end up pulling out a 13-9 win. That's a good midweek series win for the Rebels against a very quality team. And now, since they took care of business on Tuesday, now we're looking to the weekend. We get another nationally ranked SEC team coming to Swayze Field, the Kentucky Wildcats. Off to a good start to 21-4, 5-1 in the SEC. Now, in my opinion, it's been a good bit of smoke and mirrors with Kentucky here so far this year. They've played Georgia in Lexington, then traveled to Missouri, ended up sweeping Georgia at home, and then going on the road, winning 2 out of 3 against Missouri. And, this is a team that when you sit down and you just look at the stats, it's not particularly overwhelming, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Just sitting here real quick while I was looking at stuff, they just the SEC ranked batting average 11th, slugging 13th, home runs dead last. They strike out. They rank 11th in strikeouts. But the things they do well is they when they do hit the ball hard, they're doubles. They're third and doubles, first in sacrifice bunts, first in hit by pitches. And the big one for this weekend, they're first in stolen bases. Nobody steals more bases than Kentucky in the SEC. And that's been a little bit of a bugaboo for Ole Miss that we've talked about so far this year. Up until these last 2 to 3 weeks, we've got a catcher that has really been playing well behind the plate and keeping runners, or gunning runners down there at second base. And Eli Birch, I think it's paramount we get Eli Birch in at least 2, if not all 3 games for that reason alone to control that Kentucky running game.
Yeah, I mean, it's the one thing that they seem to be very successful at. I think their team leader has 4 home runs.
They do, yeah.
And they've got a few guys hitting over 300, one guy right at 400, Nick Lopez, right? He's hitting 395, slugging 628. He's only struck out like 6 times all year. So he's going to be a bat that we're going to have to keep an eye out for. But, the leadoff guy's got 10 steals. The second baseman has 12 steals. Devin Burks has 10 steals. Everybody on their team has multiple steals. And so, I think that you're right. It's going to be up to this pitching staff, and Eli Birch to control the running game. And I think if they do that, then the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, absolutely. They do run a lot. Like I said, Nick Lopez hitting 395, second baseman Emilian Petrie hitting 327. It's really the only regulars hitting over 300 in this lineup. And Lopez is the only regular hitting with an OPS over 1,000 so far this year. So it's a lineup that doesn't hit it particularly well, but like you said, they do run. Now you turn around to the pitching staff here, and they are a team that really pitches it well. That's their bread and butter.
Yeah.
They're 5th in ERA, 3rd in opponent's batting average. They don't strike anybody out. That's kind of the weird part. As good as they are pitching the ball, they're 12th in strikeouts from a pitch staff standpoint in the SEC. But 3rd in hits, 5th in walks, 2nd in home runs, 2nd hit by pitches. They don't let a whole lot get away from them. They're a staff that's going to attack the zone. And even though they don't strike you out and live in the zone, they still don't give up hits. I think it's a really interesting matchup with the makeup of this Ole Miss lineup that wants people to live in the zone, makes you live in the zone, and punishes you once you do.
Yeah, I think you're right. Looking at the pitching staff, there are 3 or 4 guys that jump out that could be potential starters. Mason Gore, Dominic Midman, and Trey Poser, and one more. What was his name? You told me. Smith.
Yeah.
Travis Smith, right. Maybe. Travis Smith, I think maybe. Anyway, their numbers are good. I think Poser is a K guy. He's going to try to strike guys out on Friday night if he's the starter. Doesn't have a lot of ground outs, a lot of fly outs. He's probably going to try to live up in the zone. I think we can probably handle that. I think the bats will be okay with him. The thing that jumped out to me about this pitching staff is the guy at the back end of the bullpen, Jackson. I hope I pronounced his name right. Jackson Nove. Man, when you look at his numbers, they're not all that impressive. But then you take out his one bad outing against Kennesaw State, and he has been lights out since then. So I think that him. Evan Byers is another guy in the bullpen that his numbers really, really stood out. I think we're going to have our work cut out for us at the plate, but I think if we're patient, just like we know that we are, we've done an incredible job of plate discipline this year. I think if we're patient and don't leave guys on base, I think we'll be all right this weekend.
Yeah, that's definitely the keys here for Ole Miss, being patient, which, like you said, that's what we're really good at. So it's going to be interesting to see the matchup between their pitchers and our hitters, and then our pitchers versus their hitters from a standpoint of we need to see improvement this weekend, right? We get Riley Maddox on Friday night. We've moved him to the Friday night role. Liam Doyle Saturday. Gunnar Dennis gets bumped to Sunday, and then Saunier out of the rotation for now. So I think it'll be really interesting to see what Riley Maddox can do. One thing he has been really good at this year, to kind of piggyback off the Eli Birch conversation, he's been really good at keeping runners close, and he's really quick to the plate with that slider. He's going to get a lot. Yeah, he really does. He almost had a couple of guys 2 weeks ago get Southern Miss. Yeah, it is. But what he's done a really good job of is living in the strike zone. The sinker has had a lot of life here lately, and that in depth, he's been incredibly efficient and giving Ole Miss a lot of depth from a starting standpoint. Really excited to see his first career SEC start coming up on Friday night.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I've been a Riley Maddox guy all the way from his freshman year, and I think that maybe on one of the preseason shows that we did, I tried to highlight him as a pitcher that I thought would be big for us this year. And so I love the fact that he's getting a chance on Friday night. I really don't know why Gunnar over Saunier. Saunier is arguably pitched better, maybe have a higher upside. But at the same time, I have no problem with that. I'm 100% confident with Gunnar going in there on Sunday and closing out the sweep for us.
Yeah, and I think if you told me to make an argument for Gunnar, it would be look at the way he's grinded through some innings as the Friday night guy. Well, now you've got a lot more pressure taken off of you and in the Sunday role, so maybe see what that looks like. Gunnar's a good pitcher. We're absolutely going to need him this year in whatever role he ends up settling into. But I think now we probably have our top 2 rotation pieces in place right now. Like I feel confident with Riley Maddox and Liam Doyle. Obviously, Doyle's coming off of back-to-back really, really good outings in SEC play. And I expect the same thing, obviously, this coming up Saturday against Kentucky from Liam. He's been incredible. Now we got to figure out that Sunday part. And I think that's, but between Doyle, or not Doyle, Dennis, Saunier, and if neither one of them can get a stranglehold on this hitch, I'm not against the idea of giving Sam Takuian a shot on Sunday as an opener. Go in there and see if he can give you 2 innings, get through the lineup once. And then if Maddox and Doyle are as efficient and go as deep as they have been so far this year, your bullpen's going to be fresh enough to where you'll be able to do something like that on Sunday if it ends up coming to it. What would you think about Takuyan doing something like that, an opener one time through the lineup or 2 innings, something like that on a Sunday?
Yeah, I like the idea. If we need to go to that, like you said, if Gunnar struggles and Saunier continues to struggle, then 100%. That sounds like a good idea. Except here's where I'm going to change it. Right?
Okay.
I think that bullpen, and it's okay. Let me say this before I get into it. I understand that it is a risk because if it blows up, then you're in trouble for the next 2 games, right? But I think that the bullpen. I think that since our bullpen has been the strength of the pitching staff so far, it's very good. Put the bullpen up against their Friday night starter, right? Start Sam Takuyan on Friday night. Let him go at least 1 turn through the lineup, 2 innings, maybe 3, right? 40 pitches, whatever he's comfortable with.
Yeah.
And then you've got guys
40,
like,
something like that.
Right. Then you've got guys like Mitch Morrell, who we know can go long in games and who has experience pitching SEC, right? They know, or he knows how to pitch in the SEC. And take the chance of burning 4 bullpen arms on Friday night and stealing that win, right? And then you've got Liam Doyle on Saturday and Riley Maddox on Sunday. It's a crazy idea, but it may be a fun one to talk about.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually haven't thought about that at all until you've brought it up. But yeah, it would definitely be it would be risky from a standpoint of burning through too many bullpen arms. But again, we've got guys that can go multiple innings here. Takuyan, Morrell, Braden Jones has gone multiple innings multiple times so far this year. And you still got a guy like Saunier too, and Carmack. I'm not giving up on him after one bad start. He was good coming out of the bullpen. He can come out of the bullpen again and give you multiple innings. Kind of depends where you settle in the midweek.
Let me give you this caveat too. It depends on, you just said it, right? It depends on how many arms you have to burn in the midweek. And if you don't have to burn a lot of arms in the midweek, it's a chance that you can try to steal one on Friday night without your best guy and have him going on Saturday. I think there was a question about this or something on Twitter about what we thought about Liam Doyle.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
we'll get to all that here in a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Go ahead.
So, there's a lot of options on this Ole Miss pitching staff, though, that I think is interesting. Even if none of these scenarios that we've already laid out work out, you still got a guy in Josh Mallitz that was, projection-wise has starter capabilities there that maybe you could throw on Sundays there to start a game and give you however many innings he can give you. We haven't seen great length out of Josh so far. I haven't seen him multiple times in a weekend yet. That's something that you would probably want to see before you throw him into that role. But again, when you have all of these arms and all these pitchers pitching the way they are, it's nice to have all of these options. I mean, there's literally so many ways you could go to figure this thing out.
Right. And two, I think that you've got JT Quinn that once we figure out what's going on with him and if his injury isn't, serious, he figures into the mix as well. I don't necessarily kick him out of the weekend rotation because maybe he was struggling because of the blisters. He gets those blisters cleared up, that oblique, fixed, and he comes out and he's as dominant as we know he can be. So he's also going to figure into it at some point, I Bleav.
Yeah. I hope so. Hopefully JT can get healthy and get back at it here soon. Haven't heard any updates on him. Now I haven't listened to Mike's post game from Tuesday night. I don't know if he said anything after the game Tuesday about JT or not, but haven't heard any updates on him. But definitely hoping we can get him back because that's obviously a big arm that we could use as well. So a lot of ways this pitch staff can go, though. We can figure out multiple different ways to piece this thing together. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see what Mike and the guys end up coming up with here. So, but we'll go ahead and dive into some of these questions y'all have had on Twitter. We put them out earlier this afternoon before we started recording. The first one came from Brian Joyner. thoughts on swapping Randall and Burford out at second base because of lefty-righty reasons? I Bleav Randall should be locked in as a starter. I think we touched on this just a little bit earlier. We can go a little bit more in depth. I fully Bleav Randall should be the everyday starter. Maybe a midweek or something, give him a breather. He is a true freshman, probably not quite used to this kind of a workload in this conference. This is a very high stress conference to play in and day out. Burford is a captain, by all accounts, a great locker room guy. But I think it's pretty clear offensively and defensively. I feel like Braden Randall has played better and deserves, at the very least, the lion's share of the starts here, regardless of handiness on the mound.
Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, I think with Braden Randall, he's played better, and I think that there's probably higher ceiling there. But I think Burford has shown it flashes, in the past that he can hit. I think maybe his biggest thing is in the field. It feels like arrows seem to kind of follow around, But at the same time, we're going to need other right-handed bats off of the bench, other than Bo Gatlin and Judd Utermark and things like that. And on top of that, he can play third as well.
Multiple
he plays
positions,
third on the corner, and so he gives you that multiple position eligibility, to give you a fantasy baseball term.
Played left field some for us last year too, so he can even fill in corner, outfield. Worst case scenario type thing.
So I think he's an important guy, but I think you're right that Randall has earned most of the playing time there.
Yeah, 100% agree. So here's the one, Brian Joyner again. Obviously, everyone's debating about not moving Dole to Fridays. What are y'all's thoughts? I'll go ahead and start with this one. I think I initially said go ahead and move him to Friday because he does have the best stuff. Now, I'm kind of backing off that a little bit. I love the idea of Riley Maddox going on Friday for us, keeping Doyle where he's comfortable at on Saturday, mainly because Maddox has been so efficient and so good for us, albeit in midweeks. It's a whole nother animal to do it. Fridays in the SEC, but this will be a good first test run for him, though, against this Kentucky offense.
Yeah, I think so. I think truly, I don't think it matters. I think Liam Doyle can pitch on Friday night, Saturday, Tuesday, Sunday, Thursday, whatever day you run him out there. I think Liam Doyle is going to take the ball, and he's going to go out there and put on the show. Yeah. So, but here he's actually able to, stay on his regular rest on Saturdays, not mess with his routine. And, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So just throw somebody else in there on Friday and see how it goes. Trey Studdard said, actually like Hill at leadoff. Your thoughts? Man, when I saw the lineup yesterday, I do too. In my mind going into the year, Luke Hill was the leadoff guy. And it completely changes the dynamic of this entire lineup when you're able to have him at the top of the lineup, hitting the ball the way he is, hitting it as hard as he is, and as good as he is on the base paths. He really raises a lot of chaos there on the base paths. Not only stealing bases, but finding ways to take an extra base here or there, or scoring from first on the ball to the gap, stuff like that. And it's as long as he keeps barreling it up the way he is, I don't think there's any reason he should be moved from the leadoff spot. Keep him there, and it completely changes the whole lineup in my mind. Yeah, I think it'll be very interesting to see Friday when the lineup comes out. What Mike does. If he goes back to Groff or whoever up there at the top. But I love the move to have Luke Hill hitting there. And I think it's very smart by Mike because you've got a guy who we can't be the only people that see that he's barreling up every other ball that he's hitting. And so you get him there and he's going to see, that first at bat, right? When you think about it, you're going to see a lot of fastballs and things like that, and also that chaos that he does cause on the base pass, like you said. Get the hottest guy up there in the leadoff spot. Get him the most at bats, and keep turning that lineup over. So I love Luke Hill at the top of the lineup. I was so excited when I saw it last night.
Yeah, and kind of to your point, we can't be the only ones that saw it. Obviously, we're not. Probably when you look at the lineup and you see a guy hitting 223 or whatever leading off for you, Mike and Clem and those guys know what they've seen out there. That's not a true 222, 223, whatever it was going into that Tuesday night game. They knew Luke was primed for a breakout. And, there for a while, all the hard ones are right at somebody, and all of the soft ones were the ones he was getting all his base hits off of. Finally turned his fortunes around a little bit on Tuesday with those 3 hits, including that triple.
Yeah, and I think too. Well, I think too, as Mike, you do that as a confidence builder, too, because
absolutely.
you say, I don't know that you verbally say this, but I think what in my mind, if I'm Luke Hill, right, what Mike is telling me in that by putting me at the top is, hey man, I see that you're hitting 230, but I also see that you're having good at bats, you're putting the ball in play, you're not striking out, you're barreling it up. So I'm going to reward you with a premier lineup position, and hopefully you get some better pitches and things like that. And so I think Mike moving him to the top, I really liked it.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point you just brought up, moving into the premium position to see better pitches. Guys are going to go right at Luke Hill with Andrew Fisher standing on deck and Jackson Ross in the hole and Ethan Leger behind him. They know that's going to be a guy they have to get out because of the next 3 guys coming up in the lineup behind him. So I think that's a really good point for a guy that had been batting in the bottom of the lineup, still being able to get the barrel on the pitches he was seeing there at the bottom before the lineup turned over. And when you raise him up like that and he becomes a focal point from an opposing coach's standpoint, hey, you can't let this guy get anything started because standing on deck's their home run leader. Standing in the hole is a guy hitting, 340 with 6 bombs, and then the guy after him leads them in average, second in home runs, second in RBIs, whatever it is with Leger, because he's been absolutely out of his mind. Not to mention he's only struck out 5 times all year still. So I think that's a great point. That's a way to get a guy that's hitting a lot of barrels some better pitches to get that barrel on, because he was doing it with some pitches that weren't really in attack mode, if you want to say it that way.
Well, yeah, just to sum up what you said there, you can't mess around with Luke Hill at the top, or whoever's at the top in front of those 3 or 4 guys, because you're going to have to go after that guy. You don't want him to get on base, because if he gets on base, chances are he's probably scoring.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and you brought up Judd Utermark a little while ago. I did want to touch on him for a second. That's a guy that might be coming around a little bit. You think he hits that bomb against Tennessee, gets a single Tuesday night against Austin Peay in a pitch hitter's role?
That'd be a big one.
Yeah, especially from the right-handed side. We've got Bo Gatlin already. You talked about Burford being a right-handed bat off the bench. Utermark may have the most potential of anybody on this entire team, given his size, speed, power combination. If he can keep making consistent contact and barreling up balls, at some point you're going to have to try to get him more bats. And I think you'll see that this weekend with, if you want to call it mini streak he's on right now. I've been pretty impressed with him his last 2 at-bats.
Oh, yeah. Right there with you.
So, all right, everybody. Well, Hitch, do you have anything else to add before we get out of here?
I'm good. I ain't got nothing else, man.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up there then. Y'all probably got y'all's fill on the Kentucky Wildcats. Appreciate everybody for their questions, too. We will probably try to do this every week. If y'all have any questions leading into a series, I'll try to give y'all a little bit more lead time. That way y'all have time to get it in. And if y'all have any questions, y'all can drop them in the comments underneath this video, and we'll save them before next week, or maybe even our Sunday show when we do our series recap. So if y'all have any questions, let us know. We will do our very best to answer them. At the very least, you're going to get our opinion. That's what a lot of this is anyway. And I think we've been pretty good at opinions so far. You call him Liam Doyle.
Great
we've
at
been
opinions.
all over. Yeah. We've been all over Luke Hill and Trayson Hughes so far this year. Those two guys are really coming around, and now Sam Takulian, people are starting to really notice him and what he's done in limited action so far this year. So far we're off to a pretty good start.
You got any questions? Yeah, send them to us. Got any problems? At CFlowers204. That's where those need to go.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Or at Wick204 on Twitter.
Whatever. Yeah, something 204.
One of the two. Yeah, something like that. So, all right, everybody, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Like I said, if y'all have any questions, comments, leave them down below. Me and Hitch are usually pretty good at getting back to people that leave us comments or ask us questions. So we try to get to all of those the best we can. And, hopefully the Rebels take at least 2 this weekend. That's kind of the goal every home series. Take 2 at home, win 1 on the road. So far, the Rebels are on track. We'll try to do it again this weekend at Swayze Field. So appreciate y'all tuning in. Hitch, Hotty Toddy. We'll talk to you this weekend.
See you, man.